everybody, it is Nir Bashan, author of The Creator Mindset, a book on creativity at work. I have a very, very, very special guest today. She is a thought leader and a McGraw-Hill author as well. She published a book called Don't Call It Quits, Turn the Job You Have into the Job You Love. This is Shana Lebowitz Gaynor. Shana, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Nir, for having me.
This is going to be incredible. Okay, so Don't Call It Quits. Why this book and why now?
I will confess, I'd been thinking about writing a book in this vein for many years, before the pandemic, before the era of remote work, because I noticed that a lot of the stories I was writing for Insider about what to do if you hate your job, how to quit your job, how to change your careers if you hate your career, those were all performing really well. And I wondered if perhaps I should give my readers, our audience at Insider, another option besides overhauling their life and making a big change. Maybe there are more practical ways to achieve happiness at work. And then, as we all know, the pandemic hit and the workplace changed very dramatically, very quickly, and I think I realized there was actually new urgency for a book and a guide like this one because for some people quitting really wasn't advisable because layoffs were happening in their industry or a big change was going on in their life at home. And for other people, who were part of the Great Resignation, which of course came about a year or so into the pandemic, they really were, feeling they had ants in their pants. They wanted to quit, but maybe that wasn't the best move for them at the time. So in the way I see it, the stories and insights I share in Don't Call It Quits can help all people in all these situations.
Shana, you're one of the premier thought leaders of issues at work, and what have you seen that has been a consistent issue over the last 6 months or so?
I appreciate you saying so. In the last 6 months, I think there's been another really dramatic shift we've gone from the Great Resignation, as I mentioned, with people quitting in droves, at least in certain demographics and in certain industries, and now in tech we're seeing layoffs and some people are worried. Many people are worried about an economic downturn and want to hold on to their jobs. So what I see is a lot of confusion, a lot of uncertainty among today's professionals and frankly among employers. And I think that on one hand, confusion and uncertainty is uncomfortable and distressing. On the other hand, you could see it as a challenge or an opportunity.
Definitely. Shana, I'm a big fan of your work. I've been following your columns for a long time. I got to ask this question, right? Don't call it quit. Turn the job you have into the job you love. Everybody's like, oh, quit your job if you don't like it. Chase happiness and all of this stuff. But you're saying no. Why?
Everybody is saying quit your job, and I've been one of the people to write the article saying, quit that job. It's the worst. But I'll tell you right now, Nir, I think sometimes, maybe even often, quitting is a great solution. If you got something better, you think there's a better opportunity for you out there, go for it. But, and now to answer your question, quitting is not always the best option. It's rarely the only option, and I think that even if, and I say this in the book, even if you ultimately decide to quit, and you might, just the exercise of exploring all your options and knowing that you have those options and you're free to choose among them, that's actually really, that's freeing and empowering and it just makes you feel better.
People spend a lifetime chasing different toilets full of the same poop, right? And you don't spend enough time digging in and seeing what it is at work that you can enjoy and gain some traction with. My author, again, is Shana Lebowitz Gaynor. She published a book called Don't Call It Quits, a super, super good book. One last question before we go. How did this book help us become more creative?
I love this question, and I like to think of creativity in the workplace or in your career in terms of crafting the kind of job you want, crafting the kind of work experience you want, and I think people are increasingly realizing today, I hope they are, that there are so many ways to do that. When I hope that when people read this book and think about this book, Don't Call It Quits, they feel like they're not stuck and they're not limited to one kind of job even, or one kind of way to feel about their job. They can really pursue many different avenues, and I hope they do.
Shana Lebowitz Gaynor, she published a book called Don't Call It Quits, Turn the Job You Have into the Job You Love. An excellent read, a very short, powerful read. I highly suggest you go out and get a copy. Thank you so very much for being on the show.
Thank you so much for having me.